So it was Valentine's Day of 2019, and I remember sitting out in my car in the parking lot about to ruin my wife's entire evening. We had an appointment that day to go talk to a home builder. My wife and I were about to borrow $600,000 to build a brand new house. She had been picturing that house for weeks. She was really excited about it. So was I. And that's when I picked up the phone and I just canceled the whole thing. So then I had to call her and I told her, I said, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but we have an emergency with our money." And honestly, she was not happy with me. It was Valentine's Day after all. And instead of talking about our dream house, here I was telling her that we were in financial trouble. But that one little phone call is the whole reason why 5 years and 3 months later, we own our house free and clear, and we didn't owe one person a single dollar. And I want you to sit on that for a second because the average person in this country takes almost 6 years to pay off just one car. And we were able to pay everything off, the whole house and all of it, in less time than that. So whether you've got a little bit of debt or a whole mountain of it, just stick with me because I'm going to walk you through exactly how this totally average family was able to pull this off. And I'm going to be honest with you about the part everybody assumes, which is the money, because it mattered way less than you would think. If that sounds like your kind of thing, go ahead and subscribe so you can follow along. I'll be making a lot more videos about how we did this. But let me back up a little bit because how we got into the hole in the first place was not pretty. So back then, my wife and I were about $125,000 in debt, and that wasn't even counting the mortgage. That was just regular, everyday life debt. We had a personal loan or multiple. We had student loans. We had a couple of car loans as well, like anybody else, but barely any credit card debt, but everything else, we basically had it. And I think that's honestly, most people live this way. That was basically pretty normal. But if you're sitting there right now with a couple of car payments or a student loan or personal loans that you took out for whatever reason, you're basically exactly where we were. But here's the thing that really started to eat at me. I looked at it one day and it just was really ridiculous what I figured out. I was buying cars to drive to a job to make money, to make the payments on the cars that I was driving to the job. That's really just a circle or like a hamster wheel. And the car's whole job was to get me to the work that paid for the car that was getting me there. And I just thought, yeah, none of this makes any sense. Like, how did it finally click? Honestly, it was almost an accident. I was on YouTube actually looking up tips on going to a home builder and what to ask and what to say and just trying to figure out what to look for. And that's when I kept stumbling upon these related videos about getting out of debt. And just one after another was showing up. And something just cracked open in my head. I realized we really only had two choices. We could keep doing the same stuff we'd always been doing, just keep digging that hole deeper and deeper, or we could stop, turn around, and start building some actual wealth, which didn't seem possible at the time, but stick with me. But it was that moment, that was the moment for me. I was 37 years old, and I'm not gonna lie, it scared me. Just realizing how much we owed and that we were basically only working to feed this debt that we were taking on. The fear is what got me to cancel that appointment. So that same night, my wife and I, we went out to the bookstore and got a book. It was called The Total Money Makeover. You may have heard of it. It's by Dave Ramsey. We're one of the people that read it. And she read the whole thing in one sitting. That entire book, front to back, it just grabbed her that hard, I think. And that was good because by the time she finished it, she really got it. I know she was a little annoyed with me still about canceling the appointment. I won't lie about that, but she understood what we were about to do and why. And honestly, that meant more to me than anything else because you really can't do this if the two of you are pulling in opposite directions. It was from that night on that we became a team. But I have to be straight up with you about something because I never want you to watch any of my videos and think that I'm special or that I had some kind of a huge advantage that you don't have. So a little bit about me and my background. My wife and I did make some decent money. We were pulling in about 200,000 a year at the time, and that was in 2019. And I can already hear some of you, you're thinking, Steve, I don't make 200,000, so this just isn't going to apply to me. I hear you on that, but I want you to understand a couple things. Let me say two quick things actually and I really want you to catch the first one. Here's the part that really should give you some hope because yes, we did make good money and yet we were still $125,000 in debt and about to stack on another 600,000 on top of that. So it wasn't the income that was going to save us. We were living proof that you can earn a great living and still be straight up broke. So like money was not the problem. The problem was our behavior. It's your behavior. That's the one piece of all this that is totally yours, no matter what you earn. And then the second thing, I'm not a trust fund baby. I didn't inherit a dime from anybody. I went to school. I spent 4 years in the military. I got my degree. I worked for every single thing that I've got. But I'm just a regular guy with a wife and 2 teens trying to balance it all out, probably the same as you. So if you make less than we did, this exact same plan will still work. It might take you a little longer to do than it took us, and that's completely fine. But really, a slower plan that you actually stick with will beat a fast one. If you're, it's not going to work just because you're rich. Anybody can do this. The speed isn't really the point. It's having a plan and sticking to that plan. And real quick, if this is the kind of straight talk that you're after, go ahead and subscribe and stick around. I'll be walking people through this exact stuff, the whole reason this channel exists, everything that I know and how we did it. I'm going to share that with everybody. Anything useful I bring up, I also have it down in the description. Sorry, I'm losing my thoughts here. So what did it take day to day? In one word, it was just using the word no. No, we're not going to go out to eat tonight. No, we're not going to take a vacation this year. No, no, and no again. So I'm not going to pretend like that's fun because it isn't. Saying no to stuff that you genuinely want and are used to getting is hard. But here's the thing that nobody really tells you about. There's like this quiet kind of power in saying no. So every time we said no to something, that money just stayed in our bank account. And it went toward what it was actually supposed to do, which was buying back our freedom. And watching that debt shrink month after month, that really beats the feeling of eating out at dinner. So one more thing I want to be honest with you about, because I did promise you honesty. A few months into all of this, I actually left my primary job, and it was a good job. It was a really cushy government job. I was working, supporting the Marine Corps on Quantico, Virginia for 11 years. And when I left there, I was making about 140,000. And it was a little scary, but I walked away from that. And the only reason I was able to do that is because during my time there, I was moonlighting, trying to start a side hustle. And that business did grow enough to where I was able to leave the government, basically making a little more than the same salary. So the income just canceled itself out when I left Quantico. My point is that I didn't have a windfall of money. I didn't get some lottery winnings. What I really got was a lot less stress. Starting that business is why I could move a little bit faster than probably the average person. I'm not going to hide that. But our income stayed about the same the whole time. What changed was our behavior. So let's get to that number I promised you all the way back at the beginning. From the day that we decided to turn this whole thing around to the day that we were completely debt-free with the house and everything, it took 5 years and 3 months, and I was 42. So we own our house outright, no mortgage, no car payments, no student loans, no credit cards, nothing. We don't owe a single person a single anything. Now, here's why that number matters and why I keep bringing it up, and especially cars. The average new car loan in this country is running about 6 years. More than 1 in 3 people are signing up for loans that stretch past 6 years on one single car. So just think about that for a second. In less time than the average person takes to pay off one single car, my family was able to knock out every single debt we have, including the house. It was the exact same stretch of time, and just we were going in the opposite direction than most people. A whole lot of people spend almost 6 years sinking deeper into debt with just one car. We spent a little over 5 years climbing all the way out of everything. So look, the clock runs either way. The only real question is what your money is doing during that time while that clock is running. And it didn't even really stop there, because once all that debt was gone, something happens that almost feels unfair. All that money that used to just disappear into payments every month, suddenly it had nowhere to go but back toward us, toward our future. So it just kept piling up faster and faster. And about a year after we paid off the house, our net worth with the house and our possessions, stocks, all that, we've crossed over $1 million net worth. I was 43 and now I'm 44, about to turn 45. So wasn't that long ago. And I really want you to hear how ordinary that part was, because the millionaire thing wasn't some genius investment or some secret nobody else knows about. It was just doing this boring same behavior and discipline, all pointed at the same goal and direction for a little while longer. Paying off all that debt really just built the muscle. The wealth was just naturally what happened next. Here's what I actually believe now after living through the whole thing. Most people don't really have a money problem. They have a permission problem. They're standing around waiting for somebody to tell them to stop, or telling them it's okay to say no for a little while. You don't have to keep up with everybody. It's okay to point your money at your freedom instead of handing it to a bank or a loan officer for the next 6 years. Nobody gave us permission. We decided to give it to ourselves. And I'll tell you one thing, I've never met one person who got out of debt and then regretted it later by sacrificing for a little while. Not a single person. You don't have to be special. You don't have to be rich. And I'm living proof of that. Honestly, you just need a plan and the guts to follow it on the days that it really just isn't fun. Because here's the thing, those same years are gonna go by no matter what. The only thing that you actually get to pick is what they all add up to. So if you're sitting there right now feeling like really totally buried in debt, I really want you to hear me on this. You are not stuck. It is not too late for you. We were 37 and knee deep in it, and we still turned it around. The whole thing way around in a very short amount of time, relatively speaking. And honestly, if a totally regular family like ours could pull this off, then I really believe that you can too. Now, I know that I know what you're thinking. Okay, Steve, that's great, but how did you actually do it? And that's a fair question. So I went and broke the whole budget down step by step in another video that you'll be able to access somewhere around here. It's the exact same budget I used, where every single dollar got a job. And the first thing it told me to actually do was spend $10,000 out of my own pocket to get out of part of my debt. I know that sounds completely backwards, but if you want to see how this works, go ahead and click on one of these videos wherever I put it, and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching, and take care.